Hello, folks. Welcome to the first episode of Gimpy Pepper. I'm sorry I did not have the video ready on time. I am technologically impaired and was trying to learn how to use a whole bunch of stuff in a short period of time. Um, but I figured I'd rather give you something of a little bit of quality that's a little late, other than um, trying to push it out right away and messing up, trying to figure out how to operate the system and everything. So that's where we're at with that. And you're probably wondering who we are. My name is Colby, and I live with my daughter Diana and a dog Cheese. And there's a story behind his name, and we have a fluid number of cats. Cats come, cats go, and um, we may have one, we may have five, we may have who knows how many at any given time. And so that's our family. I live in a.
And there's Diana, and she's munching on chips. She's not gonna say much tonight due to having a really bad cold. It's difficult for her to talk tonight, so she's skipping out.
Little trailer home currently, but I'm trying to change that situation. Um, so, getting down to the heart of the matter is why we're here. Um, you may be wondering how the words Gimpy and Pepper come together, and um, that's pretty much a whole story in itself, and I'll start covering that here. Um, I don't believe that just because we have a disability, we have to stop living. And one of my physical disabilities is arthritis, and that's a fine walk on a tightrope because you stop moving, you hurt. You move too much, you hurt, and it either way, it can cause things to get a lot worse quickly. So, um, I have a saying that I often use, and that's walk while you can, love every step. And the story behind that saying is one day I went into Walmart to get some groceries, and this was during the Christmas season. And I live in Wisconsin, which means that the weather can get quite inclement at that time of year and difficult to work with. But on this particular day, the parking lot was clear. It was 23 degrees, cloudy, no snow, a perfectly fine day for December, and I couldn't get into Walmart. There were no handicap stalls available. So I was going to leave to go to a different Walmart where my chances of getting in were better, and it took me 10 minutes to get out of the parking lot. Why did it take me 10 minutes? Because there were dozens of people sitting in the aisles in their cars waiting for the closest parking stalls. And that made me very angry. So, walk while you can, love every step has become part of my life. Um, I do, sometimes I use, mobility aids. I have a wheelchair, which I don't use very often at all, but what I do is I assess any given situation and decide exactly how much assistance I need. Usually when I'm outside, I walk with a cane. Usually in the house, I don't use my cane a lot. What is this thing? Did you hear me, my cane? Oh, but anyway, this is my cane. Well, the end of my cane. Um, this one has a 500-pound touch strength, and part of the reason, no, I'm not that big, but part of the reason it's so heavy is because if I fall, we want to make sure that my mobility aid does not fail. So it's got a 500-pound test in case I do fall and have to catch myself. Um, and it could make a potentially very interesting weapon. Um, being so strong, it's not going to break if I try and use it on somebody's kneecaps. So that's what I got for that. Sometimes I do luck with 2 canes, but that's rare. Um, I also try to keep a balanced outlook on life, and I don't want to go completely crazy with my prepping, but I want to include a balanced life, which will also eventually include a little bit of homesteading and a little bit of off-grid, well, a lot of off-grid. um, part of that is part of wanting to go off-grid is I'm just upset about everything. The cost of food, the cost of energy, and not being able to afford the basic necessities, and it's like you can't even have a decent life. They don't want you to, it seems. So I'm working a little at a time to try to create a more stable life. Going to be learning, probably have a few pots of vegetables. I don't have the ability to crawl around the ground and pulling weeds and stuff. However, if I plant my vegetables in pots, I can overcome this issue by having the vegetables brought up to my level. And also planting in pots reduces the amount of weeds you have to deal with in the first place. So, that's kind of where that's at. I do hope to eventually move out in the country where I can have a few farm animals. I don't want a cow. I don't want a pig, but I do want a few goats and a handful of chickens and maybe another dog and a horse. Um, how the horse comes into it. Yeah, a horse is a big animal, but a horse is transportation. I don't like cars anymore. They are big, they are dangerous. Well, horses are big and they can potentially be dangerous, but if you fall asleep with the reins, the horse is just gonna walk home. He isn't gonna crash into his neighbor, neighboring oncoming horse or whatever. So that's kind of my view of why I want a horse. Um, of course, I can't ride a horse anymore, but um, I plan on buying a wagon and driving a wagon eventually. The but the horse will go to the barn, I know, because I used to have one when I was a teenager. And one time, a couple of ducks flew up in front of her, and she spooked, and I couldn't stop her. I was amazed that I didn't even fall off, but anyway, she didn't stop until where did she go? The barn. So when all else fails, the horse will return to the barn. Um, as far as prepping goes, um, a lot of people think of preppers as people who are hiding in underground bunkers with a abnormally large amount of guns and ammunition and food for 20 years. And but I don't plan on going quite to that extreme. Like I said, I want to go through a balanced lifestyle of homesteading and off-gridding, and hopefully not need to stock food for 20 years. And so when it comes to prepping, everybody should do some prepping, at least for 3 days. Um, 3 days off grid is common just about anywhere in the country. You can have something happen that'll knock your electricity out, and then you'll be like, what do I do now? Um, Here in Wisconsin where I live, um, the most common 3-day uh, down situation is, for example, if um, we're not like tornado capital of the United States or anything, but we do get them, and that can take you out for 3 days until rescue can get to you. Um, it is hard for people to navigate the roads after a tornado because there's just litter everywhere, and it could be a few days, and you should have water and food for 3 days at least. A week is better, and week week long downtime is not as common, but it does happen here. Um, in fact, the last time I remember was way back when I was a kid, so I barely remember it. But we had an ice storm, and we had some relatives that lived a couple hours from us who were in the full force area of this ice storm. And they left their home and came to stay with us, and it was a week before they could go home to their own place um, when electricity was finally restored. So prepping for 7 days is better, and it does happen. And it's a very realistic expectation in many places. Um, a lot of times preppers will, be ready for this. The situation may get so bad they gotta leave. And when you have a disability, your ability to bug out is compromised. But if you make enough planning ahead of time, um, this can, in many cases, be overcome. My daughter and I, because of my physical issues with moving around, would have to plan for probably a 6-day trek rather than the 3-day that they recommend. Although hopefully that would never come, but a situation may potentially come up where I would have to walk from my home in the trailer park to the front entrance where I would be on the main roadway to get rescued. And in that case, I would have to still pack a certain amount of belongings to take with. Um, we bought ourselves a garden wagon, and we got it off Amazon. It was around $100, so it wasn't a huge expense. And this wagon holds several hundred pounds, and we what can, what we can do with it is pack things up to the edge of the rails on it, and then lay a flat piece of plywood or something over the top, and then lay our cat carriers on top of the plywood, and we can pull this behind us rather than trying to carry everything we need with us, when I'm already having difficulty moving. Um,
And this is our wagon. It's full of a month's worth of some of the things that we don't want to run out of, like cat food, toilet paper,
and
of course, we cannot forget the coffee.
a lot of people don't even think about their pets when they have to abandon their homes, but it's I can't foresee doing that. The dog, of course, he can walk on a leash, so dogs are easy to take with, but other animals, a little more difficult. I do keep a cat carrier for each cat that we have, and so that way, if I have to leave with all cats, I have something to put them in. I guess the situation wouldn't necessarily have to take out your car, but like I said, if I'm feel that it's bad enough to leave my home, it's probably bad enough I would not be able to get my car out of the park. And we got to make compromises. My sleeping situation is difficult, so I would have to make sure I take a chair and I figured on making a footrest out of milk crates because that's something that we can store things in while we're traveling and then turn it over at night to make the footstool. Um, there's a lot of things that you can have on hand that people wouldn't even think of. For example, duct tape. You know, stick duct tape in your bag. It has like 1,000 uses. I don't know quite that many, but including craft. But I've found some craft books actually that specialize in duct tape, and you can actually make a pair of flip flops and a hat in an emergency out of duct tape. So you never know what you might be able to use common items for. Things like stowing a few paper clips in your bag is they can be filed down to make a fish hook. They can be I usually what I use them wind up using them for is poking if I gotta poke things or prod something into a small spot. That's a common thing that I've done with them. In a pinch, you can even clean a pipe. I used to smoke, but I don't anymore, and I'm very glad I quit. So uh, I quit smoking about a year and a half ago. Well, not quite a year and a half, but and I feel a whole lot better, including the pain in my arthritis is down some since I quit too. Um, well, I am not an expert in everything, and what I plan on doing is if I have a program that I'm not able to show you how to do something, I can probably show you how not to do something. um, like for every way there is of I don't know, say starting a fire, there's probably 10 ways of how not to start a fire. Um, my last campfire was started with a little bit of motor oil, a little bit of charcoal lighter fluid, which neither of which would be very practical to drag with on a bug out, and was not a very viable situation. So probably would want to make sure you have matches and know how to start a fire from a few leaves and a couple of twigs and go from there. So what I hope to do with this video series is create a better life for other people in addition to planning for possible future situations, which I hope never happens, but um, even if we never have a full-out apocalypse, things do happen. Hurricanes happen, earthquakes happen, and if you're ready to deal with it, that makes life a whole lot, I don't want to say easier, probably the correct wording would be less hard. Um, and eventually I want to buy a different home. Living in a trailer is not very pleasing to me. They need more repairs and they get old and start falling apart. And I'd rather just have a house and looking for a small home on 10 or so acres of land where I can live with my goats and chickens and daughter and do some upgrading and hopefully teach others how to live a more wholesome lifestyle. Um, this this past month I bought a video camera. I haven't owned one since the days of the VHS tape. So that's kind of put out my finances a little bit, and um, I'm trying to. But I wanted to bring you a quality video, and I don't think you'd want to watch me just sit here and talk every week. I want to, I want to show you how we do things or not do things, and how we put things together. And I think it would be more educational and entertaining to, actually see us mess something up than to have me describe what we messed up for the week. And there's oh, there's a lot of different topics I can touch upon. Some of them may not seem relevant to prepping or you know in at all, but in a way it does. For example, since June we've been rapid fired by Murphy. This is my joke, but Murphy's Law does come in any situation, and Murphy coming into a bug out could be a very bad thing. So we need to learn how to cope with Murphy, and I think my daughter and I have had plenty of learning experiences since the beginning of the year. Um, so anyway, it's about time to wrap up for the evening, and don't be afraid to email me, and if you got any ideas for a future show that you'd like me to touch upon the topic, that would help me, not only know what you all are interested in, but it's hard to come up with something by myself, time after time after time. And a little bit of suggestion, can inspire to bring up something that, I may not have thought of that people want to know about. So I will say goodnight and see you. I hope to try and put out a video every week, but it may not turn out that way. So I'd rather give you quality video than something that's just thrown together in a few minutes um, to get it in on time. Have a good night.